Hello, my name is Farhad. Here with me is my colleague Martins. Martin, can you also say hello?
Hello.
Our goal here is to give you insights into how to grow revenue and profitability, mainly focusing on one aspect, which is company scalability and how that can affect revenue and profitability in the business. And by the end of this conversation, if you take and implement the insights shared here, then we want to give you three outcomes. First is that you can reach better alignment in your team, focusing exactly on those priorities that can grow revenue. Second is that your team executes with more autonomy, meaning less dependent on you as a CEO. And finally, that you, the CEO, have more time for higher leverage work and also family and yourself. To achieve those three outcomes, the agenda, how we are going to work is we will have a presentation and also we will discuss some items more in depth with Martins to share examples and our thoughts in detail. And in the agenda, we have 5 items. First, the general overview about company scalability. Then the 3 components of it, meaning strategy, execution, and team. And finally, we will share one action point that you can bring with you and do in your company with your team. Therefore, as this doing is the final part, it's also very important to highlight that this information that we are sharing is going to remain only as some theoretical unless you use and implement it. Therefore, I like this photo, which shows that it's not like a dentist office where you come and open mouth and dentist does the work, but it's more like a gym where the trainer can tell what to do, but it's up to you to do it and to adjust it for your own particular muscle system. Now, before we continue, I want to also share why we are in a position to give you value on these topics. And I want to start with you, Martin. Could you share about your background and expertise that makes you positioned to support founders and executives on improving company scalability?
Thanks, Farhad. Used to be the executive, but latest 10 years, I'm mostly serving different size companies as whether board member, supervisory board member, or advisory board member, or I also work individually with CEOs for different kind of companies, post IPO, pre-IPO, state-owned companies, publicly listed companies, startups, scale-ups, so different kind of. I combine experience what I gained from the working as executive for big organizations, hundreds and hundreds and thousand people. I worked for government more than 10 years. I also combine experience with managing a lot of change, crisis, and stakeholders. So this is mainly what I'm doing right now. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you. Also, you didn't mention your background in self-development, which I really appreciate knowing you as a person. And this background of self-development and business is what bridges our relationship and collaboration with Martins, because these are also 2 of my pillars. I'm CEO of Cocoon, which is founders and executives mentoring company. And over the past 6 years, we have helped more than 100 company founders to solve scaling challenges and to grow. Before that, I've been a tech founder myself, built, scaled, sold, also burned a couple of ventures. And I've invested more than 5,000 hours in self-development and psychology studies. So, and this gives the basis that when we work with founders and executives, we combine those 2 fields, one which is the business and another which is human layer. And also our clients' results show that. Here on the slide are a few. For example, we've helped Jobilla to scale from 15 people team to more than 200 people, also several times growing their revenue. Then Shen AI, who joined our program, were pre-product market fit. Now they have already exceeded 1 million ARR and are growing. Also, some of our clients have raised impressive A rounds, and there are many more case studies that you can find on our website. But now let's dig into the main topic of today. So let's start with what we mean with scalability. And to explain it, I like this saying that big things that work, they started as small things that worked. And on a small scale, when the company was started, when you started your company, perhaps or most probably the results were defined very simply by three things. One is that what to do, another who does it and how does it. And the way how it's usually figured out in the early days is that what to do you figure out in the breakfast or over lunch or in the shower. Then who does it? It's founders few plus few helpers as freelancers, and then you hire them. And then how to do it, it's always self-driven by the motivation of the founders and direct, very direct supervision of the first experts or freelancers being involved. But if it all succeeds and the company grows, then with time we get to such situation where the business potential of the company, meaning the potential that your company has for growth, is capped by the frame, which is the company, how the company is set up. Or a different analogy would be a marathon runner. Let's say there's a gentleman who is perfectly capable to run full marathon very fast, but if he would have two small shoes, then not only he might not finish the first, he might not finish at all, because after first few kilometers, each next step would be causing him more and more pain, causing him to stop. And then in this analogy, the runner is the business potential, the product, and the shoes is the way how the company is set up. Sometimes it's called also company operating system. And therefore now, if we already formalize this concept, then when the company grows, then what to do turns into strategy, who does it turns into team including management, and how we do it turns into execution systems. And this then makes those three pillars that we will focus our discussion on. Martin has several times reminded me it's important to use the next slide, which is with puzzle. So with puzzle, what we mean is that we absolutely know that our clients have many things already in place. So each company is building their own puzzle, which consists of many puzzle pieces. We all also know that there's no silver bullet. Like one thing, if you would do it, then it would disrupt your company's scalability. This is usually not so. It's a combination of many small iterations. I just want to say that we know and we respect that you already have many things in good place, and that is what we see also in programs that we lead. Therefore, we aim to help you to find those few missing puzzle pieces when we collaborate with founders. However, in such type of video, where we aim to have it in approximately 1 hour gap, it's not possible to cover all possible puzzle pieces in breadth and depth of it. Therefore, we will paint the frame, share what is the landscape of the puzzle pieces, and then about some of them we will talk a bit deeper, so that it's not just some list of table of contents. So with this context now, I want to open the first topic, which is the strategy. Before I ask Martins, I want to start with the frame. What we see is what we need to cover when we talk about strategy, and there are three topics. So the topics being content, process, and buy-in. So when we think of strategy, we need to think in those three categories, because if either of them is missing, then the strategy is not going to work. So content, this is the questions and answers we need to go through to design strategy. Process is how we do it so that it is up to date and realistic. And buy-in, it is how we achieve that our core team is aligned and accountable to execute the strategy. So now I want to ask Martins, if you could add some meat to these bones through your experience and perspective of the strategy dimension.
I guess we have a lot of bad and good examples in our lives, what we experience. Many of them, especially in Baltics or in Latvia, we could have bad experiences from government side, And what I mean by that is that even if you have incredibly good strategy, you need good team to execute, but you need also stakeholder buy-in. For instance, famous case with Air Baltic, when company had clear business strategy, a lot of pieces already in place, and then 7 days before IPO, couple ministers as main shareholders and stakeholders of the company said, we need to cut head of the CEO. So in a way, for any strategy, buy-in of all important persons is key. Second, from my experience, which is also well-known saying about the culture who eats in breakfast any strategy, then values which we put in our strategies, which are core bases of vision of whether CEO or founder or whomever who builds the strategy and logic, it's critical that those values and execution of those values through the business model are aligned with strategy. For instance, famous case with Volkswagen Dieselgate, which was clear mismatch between CEO's ambition, values what Volkswagen as company presented as their core, and reality what behavior we observed behind their willingness to be the number one company across the globe. So in a way, we always need to understand any strategy means their core elements all should be in one alignment with others.
This what you mentioned about Dieselgate. I remembered in one theater play there was a quote which stuck in my head, which was that ugly method poisons even the best goal. So about strategy, now let's continue with some bones after Martin Schmidt. So first, the strategy, one misconception is to think that it is a plan of activities that we will do. And why I use this picture, this is a building construction plan, but it is not a plan of activities that we will do, but it is a plan of what building we will build, which comes before plan of activities, how we will build it. And that is to illustrate that the content of strategy consists actually of many parts, which when the company is small do not matter, because everything is somehow simultaneously happening in co-founders' heads, as the co-founders usually, we sometimes say, two parts of the same brain almost as if. But when we have a management team and plus we have other stakeholders, then it's necessary already to discriminate between the parts of the strategy content. And let's talk about them. So strategy is more than the action plan. And what is it? It starts with founders and shareholders' intent. So meaning what do we as founders and other owners of the company, what do we want? And this want is expressed in answer to three questions. Why does the company exist, which is mission? Where are we going with this company, which is vision? And what do we want to achieve in a foreseeable time, usually 2-3 year time frame, which is business goals. An example of a business goal would be to reach 10 million ARR within 3 years time. And this comes before everything else. And again, when the company grows, initially feels like, why spend time on these topics if they're not clear from the beginning? But actually, missing a mission or vision is one of the top complaints that I hear from other CXOs in our individual mentoring sessions when they talk about their CEOs. So once this is clear, then the next part is management's approach to fulfill this owner's intent. So if owners set what we want to achieve, then management team, the C-level team, is the one that figures out how to materialize this desire. And this consists again from several parts. And the first part, and those parts can be framed under question why and how we will get there, where the owners want to get. And now the parts are first, it's I have combined it under umbrella term, which is winning recipe. So a recipe like in cooking, what are we cooking so that we win? And we need to start with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats matrix. Then on top of it, build our value proposition and business model. So these are well-known terms. I'll not go deep into opening up them at the moment. Then once this is clear, we come to the next part, which is the roadmap, which is already this action plan, meaning what we will do. But again, there's one caveat here, which is not to start with initiatives, but to start with strategic objectives. And to explain what is meant with this, I want to use one hypothetical example. So here on the screen, you see this cascading, that there's the mission, and then there's business goals. Let's say we want to reach 10 million AR. We have defined the winning recipe. And then before saying what we will do to reach this 10 million AR, we break it down into strategic objectives. So if we look at the next year, then we need to break down how we are going to reach this goal if we break it down into sub-goals. For example, one is that we want to reach 2 million revenue from Germany. Then we want to increase revenue from hospital segment from 1 million to 2 million. And then from our new product, we want to start generating revenue and reach 1 million from the new product. So that's an example of the strategic objectives under which then we are planning initiatives. I won't go deeper into initiatives at the moment. And why in this order? Because when we allow, when we first focus on the objectives, we say what we want to achieve in the next year. And then we allow the team's creativity to kick in and think how the team is going to achieve those objectives that will help to reach the goals. And then, of course, budget is an unavoidable planning instrument, because this is basically the tool that shows us, are we realistic in our plans? And final part in this management approach that we need to cover is how are we going to track our progress, which is a scorecard with KPIs, and KPIs tied to both business as usual, but also to the strategic objectives and initiatives, which we have to track in the scorecard, how we are doing regarding them. And then the final part, which is one of the golden rules in business, which is to place bets that don't kill us. And how we make sure that we have placed bets that don't kill us, we state our critical assumptions and trigger events. For example, we have said that we want to reach 3 million AR from a German market, but we say that, okay, our critical assumption is that by investing 500,000 in next 3 months' time, we will get the first sales in the level of, let's say, 1 million AR. And we agree that after we have spent 2 months and or invested X amount of money, we review the results, and anyone in the management team can pull the red flag and say we need to stop this initiative because it's not bringing us closer to the objective. So we have pre-programmed, if this is the result, what will happen then? And then finally, as we do not operate in vacuum, the business already exists, then there's one last part, but I have purposely planted it visually here. So, and that is how have we been doing so far? So we review what were the goals of the previous planning period, what results we achieved, and then we analyze what were the causes of the results we achieved versus the goals, and what are our learnings. And why it's here? Because in a typical planning cycle, the cycle would go from the direction where we are going and what we want to achieve. Then we look, okay, but how did we do in the past period? And then we continue with management's approach to materialize shareholders' intent. Martins, would you want to add anything here on the strategy content part?
I guess key thing is to see this also as mindset, as iteration between founders and shareholders' intent, what they feel and think that what is the potential of the company. And then there is the management approach, which executes potential and creates roadmap, initiatives, measure, plan resources, etc. And then we can back and then founder level feels whether this management fulfills potential or there is need to change something in strategy or in management.
Thank you. Here I want to add, this is super perspective you added, that the investors or other co-owners can bring in this much bigger zoom picture about what is the potential of the company. One red flag mistake to avoid here is for CEO not to start to think of investors as his bosses, because the ultimate responsibility always anyways lies on the CEO and on the management team for materializing the strategy of the company and also co-creating. And this is where we get to the process step. So the second pillar under strategy is strategy process, and we need to ensure two things with the right process: that one, that the strategy is up to date, and second, that it is realistic. And then in the third part, we will talk about buy-in, how we achieve that the team is bought in the strategy. But here just about how we keep it update. Well, there it is a topic of cycle, how often we recreate and update and review the strategy. And about keeping it realistic, it is about creating and maintaining grip with reality. So we'll talk a bit about those. So we usually see in our clients' companies that they have this type of cycle, that there's annual, quarterly, and monthly cycle for creating and updating strategy. And then it is up to you to decide what you put in each part of the cycle. So for example, in the quarterly process, this can happen this way, that when there's quarterly strategy meeting for your core team or management team, then you start it with the previous quarter's progress review. Then based on that, you decide if the strategy update is necessary. If it is, then you do the full strategy update. If it is not, then you proceed to the quarter two planning, which usually consists of roadmap and budget. And then for your reference here on the slides, which you will be able to access from the same page where you see this video, there's also more details into what you can include in the annual and in the monthly process. And then also, if you get in touch with us, or later we will publish perhaps available deeper templates for our clients. We have templates what exactly to do in each of those steps. Like for example, if we speak about mission, then how to define it. If we speak about winning recipe, then what is the whole set of sub questions that to go through there. And then the second part I mentioned is about grip. So grip on reality, where we connect the strategy, our past results, and market. And why this photo? Because sometimes visionary CEOs can be like this, that we have in front of us very nice vision, so flying somewhere already to Mars, but the team are like, what the heck, man, look in our bank account and look in our budget and our results. So how do we achieve that we are with our heads in clouds and dreaming, but with our leg on earth, rooted in reality? So, and the tools for reality rootedness are quite common, quite known. Well, I'm here to just remind that you have to use them and you have to rely on them regularly. So one is the scorecard. It's unimaginable to not have scorecard updated before each management team meeting, but especially before these monthly, quarterly, and annual strategy sessions. And everyone in the team who is owner of the KPI, they must know that it is absolute must that they update the KPI results before any of those meetings. So then budget, progress review, and talking with people, frontline employees, customers, and prospects. Martin, anything from you here on the strategy process before we continue to buy in?
The one thing which I guess at the moment pops in my mind, pops up immediately is that every element need owner. Scorecard need one owner, who is following about both sides. One is quality of data, and second is discipline. Of course, for the budget, usually CFO or whomever. Then about the progress review, it's kind of clear. Process owner is CEO, but in the same time, whether we have enough information for progress review, maybe there is some team member who is owner of that creating of progress report and creating and preparing the progress cycle meetings. So in a way, the logic is that each element, as in any other system, needs owner, and then it works.
Thank you, Martin. So, and then the last part in strategy is buy-in. So buy-in meaning how do I achieve that the management team believes in the strategy, stands by it, and wants to and does execute it. And here the key red flag is that top-down approach is not okay. With top-down meaning if the CEO would come to the management team and say, this is the strategy, this is what we will do next year. So this is absolute no-go. But what instead is the way how to achieve management's buy-in is that we can achieve accountability through co-creation, so through creating strategy together, and we can achieve commitment through asking the commitment but negotiating it also. If I start backwards, then about asking and negotiating commitment, we have a separate almost 45-minute workshop recorded, which is available on our website. I won't go into those details, but there's a lot of techniques that our clients use to achieve full alignment. And about co-creation, well, that basically means that you include your management team in strategy creation sessions. And here are two comments. First I will say, and second I will ask Martins to explain more. So first comment is sometimes I hear from CEOs, yes, I understand, but, and this but is that one of my CXOs is not capable to participate in strategy co-creation. He or she just doesn't understand these topics. Well, here you have your answer. Here you have the blocker for your company's scalability. In this case, meaning, sorry for the laugh, but this is kind of obvious that if you have a C-level person who is not capable to participate in strategy co-creation, perhaps it's time for this CXO to go. Maybe there's something wrong in the relationship level, but it's definitely a red flag because everyone on the C-level should be able to think not only vertically about their vertical that they're representing, but also horizontally about business as such to think together with the CEO. And the other comment here is most of our clients, they have investors, and investors, they comprise a board. And then there's this a bit two overlapping circles where one circle is the board and another is the management team, C-level team, where the CEO is in between. And now how to align that the board needs to be included in strategy creation, and there are some things that come from the board, and the management team has to be included in the strategy creation. But to put both groups together in one room, it's also not a solution. So Martin, what's your take on this?
Iteration. So that means it's like negotiation process between founders, strategic understanding about the potential, and execution potential, which is ready to commit for exact results in exact time. And then you have this, then you have this, and then you start to go this path of negotiating, dealing. It's like create new deal. It's like when one person, one company wants to build a factory, new factory, and then there is company who promise to build it, and then the question is about time and then price, and then you start to deal about what technology we will use for that, what kind of resources we will use, how much money we will have ahead, and how much money we will have later, etc. And this is the same process.
I want to increase the pressure in this question a bit. Let's assume a hypothetical situation that there's any but major decision where the investors say, let's go left, we want you guys to go left. CEO is maybe left, maybe right, and then in his 6 people management team, 2 people say left, no way, we have to go right, and others are like, yeah, we also tend to agree that we should go right. And so there's like very this because I think in this case the CEO, it would be a mistake for CEO to say in his management team, well, but investors said we have to go left, so what can I do, we will go left. Yes, so this is not a way to go. Also, not a way to go would be like, yes guys, I agree with you, but no, we cannot do it because the investors want to go left. So how do you advise CEO to approach such situations? Because I think they do happen in this way from time to time.
You're right. It could be different specific examples. For instance, should we go in new technology? Should we go in new market? Do we need to put priority on current 3 markets, or the potential is in next 3 markets? So in a way, key thing is commitment from CEO, and sometimes he can promise to test, not to deliver, but to test some shareholder assumptions, and kind of create this as separate standalone line or project, and then look to this separately as innovation. Otherwise, if there is lack of commitment from team to CEO, or from CEO with team to shareholders, then only the good outcome will be if they will work until they have agreement. Otherwise, fail will be there.
Yeah. So maybe the umbrella topic for this small thread we just had is stakeholder expectation management. When there are many stakeholders, in some cases there are also some strategic partners whose needs need to be bought in. So that's a topic where you want to add something.
Yeah, maybe one more thing which also popped up in my mind. Transparency in reality from the management point of view also is critical part of that process. I remember this couple days ago, I saw video of CEO of Nvidia who said that in those years back, I don't remember, 10 or 15 years back, when they promised to deliver some new product to one client slash potential investor, they understood in one moment they can't deliver. So and CEO of Nvidia went to that client and said, we can't deliver. He explained why, and he proposed instead of that not to give this money back, but instead to invest this money in company. Why I'm bringing this example right now? Transparency of management way of thinking is the basement, the fundamental element to get clarity about the stakeholder and shareholder real belief in potential, but also in reality. So otherwise it will not work.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so and with that we can summarize. So the strategy dimension, what we just covered, is the content, what is that we define in strategy. Then second is the process, how we ensure it is up to date and realistic. And finally, a few comments on getting buy-in, how to achieve commitment and accountability, remembering that we need to achieve it both from and with the management team, but also with investors and the board if we have such. And now let's move to the next big part, which is the execution. So meaning what, meaning how we are doing the things. And in the execution part, I want to start with a joke picture, which I chose for the story. So this is some clip art photo of a happy CEO. Why I'm saying joke, because in the reality, sometimes CEOs tell they feel more like this. putting out fires and dealing with crises. And also on our website, we have a free growth blockers assessment, which by filling in company management teams can uncover what is holding back growth. And in this assessment, one of the questions is how much time you spend putting out fires in percentages. And then more than 60 people from who have filled in the assessment, they report that one third or more of the time they spend on putting out fires and solving ad hoc problems, which means one third of the time is not used to create and execute the strategy, but to deal with problems. And Martins, you once told me that, how did you say that outputs will be proportional to your inputs. So here, if we invest in problem solving, then we will have more problems to solve. Can you elaborate on this a bit more?
Mostly you already explained the logic, but usually I observed critical parts are, do we plan time for planning? Do we plan time for getting feedback? And do we plan time for thinking? If we do not put those time blocks in our mindset, in our schedule, quarterly schedule, monthly schedule, weekly schedule, then that means we allow to universe take over our time and use for universe needs, whatever it means, firefighting or problem solving or dealing with small, not so important things. But if we are all the time keep in mind that my as CEO, for instance, main duty is provide resources, financing, fundraising, to look whether we have right team, so work with team with those relationships, and then work with stakeholder management as relationships, and then finally to work with strategy. Are we on the right way? Do we have the goals which lead us to our vision? So if those three elements always be like put into the calendar as priorities, you will spend enough time for that. If not, then all the other stuff, things will take over.
Thank you. So let's talk about execution now. And as Martin already mentioned the topic, what are the priorities? So we will open up a bit more what are the CEO responsibilities, because execution is doing what we are supposed to do and not doing what we are not supposed to do. So to delegate the rest, therefore, we'll talk also about delegation. And then once duties, responsibilities are delegated, then how we ensure they're done. So we'll talk about building a steady execution system and how to achieve those three. So if we open up, and this is the part where there's quite a lot of stuff actually included, and we have in another program almost 4-hour full session only on execution topic. Here we want to squeeze it in 10 minutes now. So about CEO's responsibilities, one first obvious is the team's management, and here we don't mean even leadership, we just mean technically managing people, giving them time to the extent they need to get their jobs done. And then second is innovation and planning strategy is one of the planning activities, but far from the only planning activity. There's also weekly planning. Basically, yeah, we actually will speak about problem solving a bit more also. And then the next one is to be the energy and opportunity magnet, the one that attracts opportunities and that infuses the team with energy, and also to manage finances. So these four are the main principal, broadly looking CEO's responsibilities that CEOs should prioritize time for. Here, one technical maybe seems finances, like why? Because if I have a CFO, then why is it even on my priority list? Well, first, fundraising anyway remains CEO's responsibility, but there's also this topic of financial hygiene. Martins, can you elaborate a bit on that?
I like always those very clear mindsets, especially from American entrepreneurs and organizations. I have a friend. He started to work for one big American corporation for years ago. And after first year as country manager, he achieved some really great results. He went to board meeting and then he was inspired. I delivered. So and then during that board meeting, CEO of that organization asked to CFO, "Will you tell him or I need to tell him?" And he was wondering what. And he said, "Okay, good results. Next year, expenditures minus 10%. That's it. And this is not about this year result. Next year, minus 10%. So in a way, that means it's questioning about any kind of processes, any kind of expenditures, any kind of the people what we use right now. Question whether we need this year, whether we need this quarter, why we need this. Not allow to any process and expenditure stay as baseline. So this is the main principle of CEO's approach, what I mean by financial hygiene.
Thank you. Also, if I jump a bit back about team management, only one comment that I want to leave here is that it is good if the CEO has agreed terms how the team has access to the CEO, so that it is not happening ad hoc. For example, this is office hours, one or few times a week, or otherwise agreed, so that the people are very clear when they can and when they should not come to CEO for his time. And maybe second thing on the team's management is that you can think of time usage in two buckets, where one is ad hoc and another is through management systems. And always think when the ad hoc time starts to accumulate time of certain type, then how can I turn it into a management system? For example, I see that people are coming and asking my decision about certain type of questions. Then I can understand, okay, it's time to delegate this decision-making block further to someone else and to define a delegation subsystem here. So this is what I mean with management systems. Now the next part, after doing what we are supposed to do, is to delegate other things to others. And the delegation basically consists of three parts. One is how we delegate responsibility. Second, very connected, is how we delegate decision making. And third is how we solve problems and reduce our involvement in problem solving. Perhaps to look at this more in detail, then responsibility delegation is one key part here. And this is not even about micromanagement or not micromanagement, but looking broader, are we delegating tasks and projects, or are we delegating responsibility, meaning ability to respond? And when we are able to respond, this is when we have been told, this is the outcome that we are seeking from you, and this is why you're hired, to produce this outcome. For example, to reach 10 million in sales, or to reach that people use the app 4 times a week instead of 0.3 times a week. Then this is the budget that we agree with you that you can use to reach this outcome. And very important, these are the consequences that will happen if you don't reach the outcome by, let's say, 10% or 20% margin. And those three parts need to be very clear: outcome, budget, and consequences. And this triangle then creates a responsibility. And again, if the natural reaction is like, yes, but my chief XO is not capable to work this way, he will not be able to tell what budget he needs and so on, then again, you know, this is a bottleneck for growth, for companies' scalability. On the C level, we need people who are willing and able to work on responsibility delegation level, not on task or project delegation level. Martin, do you want to add something here?
The key point is delegation means agreements between CEO and team members, what they deliver. And then there also is one thing, agreements, and then other thing is process, how we evaluate whether those agreements are working or not.
Thank you. And it is absolutely normal to record those agreements. We don't mean like 20-page legal documents, but we mean that in your process management system that you have, and here is a hypothetical example of an agreement between CEO and Chief Sales Officer, where we have agreed what sales are expected. We have parked through what metrics we will track your work, what budget you have, and how you make decisions and with whom you need to coordinate which decisions. So this all in one word is clarity. An agreement that is available also to other team members publicly. Then regarding decision-making system, delegation system, the base premise here is that everyone in the company needs to have clear access to a place where they can find out who makes which decisions in which budget level. And you as a CEO have thought through this and agreed who can make which decisions in the company in which cases. But in order for that to be able to happen, you need to also think, how do you help your team members to know what is a good decision and what is a bad decision? And one tool to use there is a decision-making checklist, where you try to extract your own decision-making process, how you define for yourself what is a good or bad decision, and then you teach your team members what does it mean, a good decision. We have also, for our clients, a more specific template for this decision-making checklist. And then thinking about problem solving, so the question here is, how do I reduce my time involvement in problems, because problems will happen all the time. So, and the answer is through planning. So basically, one tool that we can create is, for example, incident register, where we ask everyone to register incidents, not for solving them, but as a fuel for innovation, where I have on a weekly basis a place where I can categorize what were the incidents, the problems that happened, and I, from a bit bigger zoom, reflect what should I do, first of all, to not be involved in solving this problem, and second, what caused this problem and what should we do for this problem to not be repeated, or to be repeated with less frequency. So that about delegation. Martin, anything from you here?
Let's move. I guess you already
Okay.
covered most of it.
And then the last part in execution is, how do we design steady execution system that the whole team executes on the level that is necessary for the company to reach its goals. And of course, there's many ways how you could group it. We have grouped it the following way. What is the execution culture? What is the execution flywheel? And in what order are the processes in the company? So culture, meaning how do people know what is expected from them, and what happens if they behave in that way or they don't behave in that way, both in a written and unwritten form. But the unwritten form usually is more important, and that is set by CEOs, two types of actions. First, what the CEO does, and second, what the CEO tolerates. So if, let's say, the CEO comes to meetings and usually he has done approximately 60% of planned activities that he said in the previous meeting he plans to get done by this week, then this means the CEO with that says implicitly that in our company this is okay for everyone to do up to 60% of planned work. It's not necessary to do more. So this is one. And second is the toleration, meaning that if there's underperformance, and there's no consequence for the underperformer. And with consequence, I don't mean just saying this is not okay, but some felt consequence. Then through that, the CEO is signaling to the whole team that that level of underperformance is accepted in our company. So please, everyone, go ahead and underperform in the same similar way. Martin, anything from you here on this?
leading by example is core principle which works both families and companies. If CEO is always late in meetings, then there is no logic why other managers will be in time or will execute in time or will keep their promises. So in a way, the fundamentals, how culture works, are there.
I want to add here also that we are speaking about the management team where CEO is part of management team. We are not speaking about owner who is not the CEO,
Sure.
but about the managing CEO. And here one thing that maybe sometimes I see the other end of spectrum is that CEOs are afraid to take time off and let's say spend Friday in nature for deeper reflections, but like I need to work at the desk and show the team I'm working. This is also not correct thing because CEO's time is necessary for innovation planning and energy and opportunity magnet. So, and where do you feel in your energy? You feel in it in spa, in nature, wherever necessary, but then this needs to be properly explained to the team that for filling up my batteries and reflecting from bigger perspective, I need time in different environment, and that is why I'm taking it. And I am taking it maybe one full day a week, and for our CXOs, the time is one full day a month that we agreed. That meaning there has to be agreement and spoken consensus about this, not that expectation that just working at the desk is producing results, because most of the, well, not most, I'd say all CEOs and board members, they're not these factory machine workers where you just do kind of the manual repetitive work. Then about execution flywheel, I remember one comment about from one CXO. She told me that, well, in my previous company, the speed was so crazy how we were executing. And I asked, where did the speed come from? She said, from the CEO, how he was kind of pushing in all management meetings, the team, like, meaning the management team meeting is actually the thing that puts this flywheel in motion. So usually it is a weekly management team meeting which rotates the flywheel of execution. Some teams do it twice a month, some teams do it twice a week, but average I'd say is once a week management team meeting. And one comment about these management team meetings is that the whole management team, so the whole C-level, is always present in it to avoid any talking in silos that I see in some companies. CEO talks with one CXO, then with other CXO, then with other, and then they just meet for some 10-15 minutes together to say hi, hello to each other. So this is very incorrect way, because then the CEO basically becomes the only person in the company who knows what is going on, and this is not what you want if you want not to be the bottleneck in the company. And then the last part, which we won't go into details, is about processes. It's so well covered topic all over in management literature and in internet resources. Just to comment maybe that the execution will be in order when you know which are your critical processes, meaning those where the errors are unacceptable or there's high error rate or high employee turnover. And then for those you have created process maps and you have created process manuals when necessary, but God forbid you are not documenting unverified processes where you are just verifying, let's say, market demand, or you are even searching for product market fit for something. Do not document those processes, because the moment you document something, you frame and cement people's thinking that this is how it should be done. But if you don't know how it should be done, don't don't kind of cement that this is the way how it has to be done. So this is basically the execution landscape in quick. Tried to squeeze it in, didn't manage in 10 minutes, but maybe in 15 minutes. So this brings us to the last third chapter, which is team. And team, this is people who do, mostly focusing on team who is the management team, who manages. So let's imagine that this is two companies management teams. As we can see in this example, they are all rowing very nicely. One team is slightly ahead. So if you do well, then even 10% better performance will ensure winning. The problem is when someone is lazy on the team, and with lazy I do not mean just labor-wise, but also mentally. And here I remember from one of the programs that we led, the 5-week company scalability program, one CEO afterwards told me that in this program, as there were many management teams together in online format, he could see and compare and benchmark how his CXOs benchmark to other CXOs and how they perform in this slightly different environment. And he told me that his eyes as if opened about one CXO, and he understood why and how specifically this person is not fit for the management team, because he's not fit for co-creating the strategy, for negotiating the strategy, standing by his point. So he let that person go, and now he's hiring a new CXO in place. And I participate in the final interviews already had with 4 candidates. And everywhere it's possible to see, at least in the first 3 interviews, ways how mishires in C-level might be happening. And here I want to highlight that the mishire in C-level is one of the most expensive mistakes CEO can make. Because if the team eventually then looks like this, and this is maybe you might be laughing when you see the picture, but this is sometimes the picture that I see when I participate as observer in management team meetings. Someone is ironical about what the CEO, let's say CEO is not on the picture, these are other people. So one is ironical when he hears CEO speaking. One guy is sleeping, one guy is in his WhatsApp. So that is not what we want to see on management team meetings. So therefore now, speaking about the team, we will cover 3 parts again. First is the team setup, how the team is set up and who are the people in the team. Second is the team member's journey, so how the person comes and grows and leaves the team. And finally, how we lead the team. So starting with the team, actually maybe before I go into details about team, Martin, maybe you remember some anecdotal example from your experience that would also highlight this point that actually team is the maker or breaker. And I mean specifically focusing on the management team.
I guess for me, the key is combination of the right experience of the team member in his area for the company's stage and strategy, but this experience should be combined with right motivation for that team member to gain new experience, to feel new whatever we call achievement, success, or his personal new potential. So in a way that there is combination always with something what this person has and something what this person is hunting. And when this is combination, then it creates right team member for right time for that team. And this is kind of the logic behind.
Thank you. Thanks. So let's jump into the team landscape now. And the first part I want to illustrate with this basketball picture, so meaning the setup. Because in this picture we can see those 3 dimensions: placement, structure, and collaboration. Placement means which people are on the field. Structure means what are the roles and how they are designed to interact with each other on the field. And collaboration, how well the team members collaborate in between themselves. And you know, in basketball, if any of these 3 is somehow mixed up, the team will lose. Absolutely the same in management. So, and what Martins just mentioned was one example, this one way how to think about placement, meaning who are the people in the particular roles, that they are those people who are capable to do the job, or they are very almost capable and they can catch up, and they want, this is what they want in their life, to do the job in the particular way. In our backbone program, the 5-week program, we talk again like 4-hour session about the team landscape and auditing and improving the team dimension. Here just a high level overview, so you know what to think about if you work on these topics on your own. Then the journey part covers getting, growing, and retaining, and also offboarding people. And here we touched already a bit on the getting part, so meaning how we get people. I want now to probe a bit deeper into this, because getting, of course, there's one, how do you get the candidates, but another is how do you select, because the selection is the place where mistakes happen or don't happen, which is the, I'd say, one of, if not the costliest mistake the CEO can make, selecting the wrong candidate in the particular place. So how could we unpack, Martins, what is this way, how in a, let's say in an interview, which the CEO already is doing, let's say there was pre-selection and now the CEO is meeting the CXO candidate who seems promising. So what are some of the ways how to probe into these, if I summarize, capabilities and desires aspects of the person and company match?
I guess the first and most important thing is to try to get under skin of that candidate. What's the real motivation in that candidate's life at the moment? Why he wants to experience this journey? This is kind of the key. Whether the driver is fear, anger, or joy, or something else. So if joy is driver, this is positive energy. If fear is driver, it's the great question whether this person will be capable to unlock his potential and create sustainable relationship between CEO and himself and company and himself or
Thank you.
herself.
I want to add here also 2 points. One is I sometimes say post the interview, because I participate in interviews and my role is illusion shatterer, to help both sides to shatter illusions about each other. I tell to the CEO, like, look, if you would look at this man we just met in the interview and he was your best friend, you are not hiring anyone in your company, but he is looking for a job, then what would you recommend him as your best friend? Like, what's the best where he would become very successful and perform the best? First, like, what would be the role, the company type, and this allows to detach from the question, should we hire him or not, is he the best candidate for us, but where he would flourish the most, this person. And sometimes you see very clearly, not in this role, not in this role we were just discussing. And the second part is there's such a saying, should I believe what you are saying or what you are doing? So meaning, for example, you are going to hire someone and you see that the expected abilities or skill set does not match what you need here. And the person says, no problem, I will learn. I really love learning. I love learning new things and so on. And you can just ask, okay, so I see in your past from this to that job, you had quite a jump in your responsibilities. How did you learn what you needed to know there? So he will tell what he learned, and then you can ask, like, for example, and do you like reading or watch some seminars and something? He says, yes, I like reading. And then you ask, what are some of the books you loved in the field? So, and if you hear answer, well, I don't remember exact books, but they all are very good. So you know already that you are. So meaning to probe deeper and keep in mind, in back of the mind is saying, should I believe what you are saying or doing? And search for what the person has been doing, not what just he's saying. I see, Martin, you are thinking, do you want to add anything here?
No.
Okay, all right.
So
So
I just really remembered I had yesterday 2 hiring interviews.
hiring or firing? Hiring.
Hiring.
Yes. Okay. So, and maybe one comment only on offboarding. The way how we offboard people impacts company's culture a lot and for a long time. Because it would be misconception to think that once we fired someone, nobody from our team will ever talk with them. Quite often, quite the opposite. So therefore, to offboard people respectfully, with full decency, this is absolute must, even if the person is the so-called bad leaver. But won't go more into detail here. And the last part in team landscape is leadership, which consists of three parts again: leading other people, building and leading relationships, and leading ourselves. So as Cocoon and me and Martins, we are mostly focused on helping founders become better leaders. This is the topic where we could talk a lot. So what would be few items that we would want to mention? Martin, let's start with you. What would you mention on this leadership, relationships, and leading ourselves topic?
In my understanding, relationships are core element of our life in all manifestation of that. Whatever this is, family, this is our spouse, this is our kids, whether those are relationship in work. So, or with stakeholders, whatever. We know that only the relationship with trust creates new value. If there is no trust, there is no good working relationship. So this is core for me, like essential.
Trust should be given or earned?
That's a very good question. We start with giving trust.
Absolutely agree.
We start with giving.
Yes. I give you trust and prove me wrong in this approach. Okay. Not even
Actually,
prove me wrong, but
even don't prove.
yeah.
Yeah. You start with giving trust, and then life shows. So
Exactly.
you can. It's game about balance, but any kind of game of balance means you are in unbalance all the time, and you are balancing, but you start with giving energy.
Yes. Anything else you want to add on leadership topic?
We can talk about this long, but today we need to be very capable to squeeze in time what we promised.
Okay, I will add one concept here. So in leadership, I want to say but this is when we are speaking about management team, then we should not think much about motivating our executives. So CEO should not think how to motivate C-level. CEO should think how to not to demotivate them and how to lead by example. And that's the point, meaning to give the people what we want to get and to think all the time what does it mean to be a good CEO? What does it mean to have a great CEO performance? Because I cannot expect from my subordinates something that I'm not doing. If I'm not on the level, how can I ask them to be on the level? So what does it mean to be a great CEO? And here are some points. So first is already mentioned that your example overrides everything that you are saying. So what you are doing overrides everything that you are saying. And what you tolerate will multiply in the team. And here also, therefore, comes this topic of enforcing consequences, meaning that to be a nice guy and to be a good CEO, these are two almost mutually exclusive things. You have to choose either to be the nice guy or to be a good CEO in the company. Because if you want to be a good CEO, you cannot be a nice guy because you will have to enforce consequences and also sometimes make other tough and difficult choices. And last moment here maybe is to never underestimate what impact it leaves on people when you change mind and do not renegotiate it. So in all things to try to renegotiate instead of just saying that, okay, yesterday I thought like this, now I think like this way, we will do it this way. But of course it falls to everything else. Like if you gave word to do something or to provide something, if conditions changed, not possible to do it, then have to renegotiate it. And on the self-leadership, just want to mention two things here. One, super important is energy, because CEO's energy is the team's energy. There's equal, and to basically to think what is taking away your energy, what is giving you energy, to run from time to time energy audit, and to work on growing your energy, the personal energy that you have as a human. And I'm here not speaking about obvious stuff like sports and decent sleep, but there's also many other things that are taking and giving energy. And the other is self-awareness, to be aware of how I am when I am reacting versus when I am acting. Not to be in the reactive mode, but to be in active mode, and to give you, and actually to conclude this team chapter with one very practical exercise that you can do in the moment when you feel, pardon my language, pissed off and you feel like reacting. If you can catch yourself at that moment, you do two very simple things at the same time. First thing, you breathe in and out, and second, when you are breathing in, you move yourself back in the chair, and when you are breathing out, you move yourself down in the chair. And even one millimeter back, 1 millimeter down is enough. Nobody will notice it, but you will calm yourself down and ground yourself, and your response will be a response, not a reaction. So with this, concluding the team landscape topic, the setup, journey, and leadership are the parts. And Martin, I see you want to add, please.
I guess one aspect which latest months come in mind as a significant part of the story is creating for management team feeling of ownership. So whatever this is, whether those are stock option programs or this is something else, but nowadays this is one of the critical parts to create sustainable long-term motivation for teams to be all in.
Yes, absolutely agree. Thank you, Martin. Okay, so now the last part that I want to share, what is the action step that you can do in your team with your team. And here is a link to a free growth blockers assessment. And what we suggest you to do is to share this link in your management team. Individually, everyone fills in the assessment, and then you share the answers with each other, read each other's answers, and discuss each point in order to understand what are the root causes of the lowest scores, because that's where the biggest potential for improving scalability lies. And what are the causes for big differences in scores? Because this is where someone doesn't see what other person sees. And then following this discussion, you will have you will be able to devise a priority actions plan to improve your company's scalability. We have also recorded a workshop on management team discussions and decisions, which is available for free on our website. And here is a one tiny fragment from that workshop, the questions that you can use when you are discussing in team scores and extract useful insights in these discussions. For example, let's say someone scored a particular question with 6 out of 10, and you can ask, what do you feel about it? Why it's 6, why it is not 5, and this will show what's good in that. And then you can ask what would make it 7, and this will help you to extract how to improve the score. So this is just a tiny example. There's 45 minutes of insights for you how to run management team discussions and make aligned decisions in that other workshop. So, and if you want our support, either to help you figure out once you have already filled in assessment, or you want support as a CEO to gain personal clarity and business level clarity, then we invite you to sign up for the free discovery call. Here is a link that you can, there's a form you fill in, we will send you a link to schedule the discovery call afterwards. So that is it, what we wanted to share. But now, as I usually say, there's open microphone. We can still use a bit of time to add some these PS afternotes and afterthoughts. Martin, maybe you feel like adding something.
I feel that we covered great things together, but at the end of the day, team is the core. Without team, no strategy will work, and without right team, you will fail in execution. So even we started with strategy and followed by execution at the same time, the team creates the future value.
We were recording one podcast this week about following hard path at work. There were three entrepreneurs and me in the discussion, and we raised the question: does even such a thing exist as a hard path at work, that you do something that your heart is calling you to? And all three said that yes. But we also discussed that there are those two sayings. One is love what you do, and another is do what you love. Sound very similar, but very different meanings. Meaning, love what you do is what you do. You need to learn to love this and do it with love. But other is do what you love means find what you love and do it. Do what brings you joy. And I think the team very well feels if the CEO is not doing what he loves, and what he's doing without love. So, and therefore, to be a good CEO means to learn to love what you do, but to choose to do what you love and delegate the rest. And this is both on the micro scale, but on the big scale as well. What I mean with that is, if at one moment CEO would realize that what his business does is meaningless to him, like absolutely meaningless, it would be very hard to be a good CEO in such a company. And in turn, if you can uncover how what you do actually has deeper meaning for you, and you always roll back all thinking to this deeper meaning, which eventually translates into a company's mission, then the team can survive many other things if and when they understand why what they do matters.
10 years ago, we usually were reflecting on what Steve Jobs was saying. Nowadays, it's pretty popular to reflect what CEO of Nvidia is saying. And
Yeah,
he said it's always important to love what you do, even if you start with dishwashing, because that means you will learn to do next thing, and then you will love this. And at the end of the day, if you go with this approach, you will find the opportunity to do what you love. So that's why, in my mind, in a way, this is incredibly great story about circle, where, as we discussed, you give trust. So the same is here. You start to do with grit, with love, with passion, anything what you can do, and then universe will open for you opportunities.
there's of course a question, valid question: how, if I don't love what I do, how to start loving what I do? I will leave this as in Netflix episodes for the next discussion. So thank you everyone who has been watching. Thank you, Martin. It has been very great talking to you. All
Thank
the
you.
links of the resources I mentioned and scheduling the discovery call will be posted next to the video. So enjoy the rest of the day afterwards. And thanks, Martin. Goodbye.
Goodbye.